Okay, traders, what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to talk to you about the power of using real-time profiles. Now, real-time profiles are custom for people that are looking to use a profile that is always updating dynamically to real time. And what does that mean? Well, most likely when you're using other forms of volume profile, you're going to be either looking at composites, you're going to be looking at either anchored VWAPs, or you're going to look at manual profiling. Real-time profiling is about identifying how the auction is unfolding bar by bar as it's updating in the live market. And this can be useful for two things. One, for strategies, and two, for trade management. Now, the real-time profiles are also a part of the drawing tool functions inside of TickBlaze. And depending on the time of day you're trading, it could be fast or it could be slow. But when you click on the real-time profile and you click a point in time, it's going to calculate the data and it's going to update all the way to the current bar. So whatever you do, whichever bar you click on, it's going to update the auction to the current bar. And every time the market updates, it's going to update the profile. Now I'm going to go in here. Normally what I like to do, especially if I'm day trading on smaller time frames, I'm going to set my volume profiles a little different. And I would suggest you do the same. Once you apply it to a chart, go into parameters. If I'm intraday trading, I'm going to choose ticks. If I'm using bigger time frames, I'll use minutes, but since I'm looking at a 1 minute chart, I'd like to use a more granular view. And I'm also going to change, since I'm looking at crude oil for this example, I'm going to change this to a 1 tick histogram. So that way, when I change the auction, I can see a little bit more of a granular view. Okay. Now, I always encourage traders to go in and change all the colors. Make sure you set the volume profiles, the VWAP colors, the fonts, all of the different preferences. And then once you get things to look the way you like, just hit set as default and that'll be the current view. Now, whatever you're doing, right? Like if you're looking at a large sample size of data, like maybe I wanted to choose real-time profiles from the low of this auction, right? It's going to calculate all that data. Okay, that'll give you a profile for the entire period of time, plus it's going to go to the current edge of the chart. Well, maybe I only want to look at it from the current open from tonight's session, and the market just opened, so this is an ideal time for me to demonstrate this, is that if I come in here and I actually choose real-time profiles and I choose the candle from yesterday, okay, it's going to populate to the current bar. And if you look, every 1 minute that plots, the profile is going to shift. You're going to see the volumes moving. You're going to see the VWAP moving. You're going to see the value area low. You're going to see the value area high, all moving with the market. And it should. It's designed to be dynamic in real time. And this can be very valuable because when you're day trading specifically, or if you're managing trades, you can use information to your advantage, right? Like you can see this is a big piece of volume here. It's standing out like a sore thumb. So if we're going to get above, it's got to break through that volume and then retest up, right? If it wants to break below, that's going to act as resistance. This is going to act as resistance. This is the trend right now for the VWAP. And the volume is going to change, and you're going to watch that volume change. And this can be very useful for faster traders. It can be very useful for trade management. And there's so many different strategies that you can trade with this. You can use these for volume strategies. You can use these for point of control retests. You can use these for a VWAP trend trade. You can use this for value area high and value area low auction theory for cheap and expensive price locations. And what's unique is that it's always moving. Now, because it's always moving, it can ultimately be a little bit more difficult for new traders to understand what the information is telling you. So normally what I would encourage you to do is stick to the foundations. What I like to do is I like to look at the VWAP as a really good trade because this is going to be the dynamic VWAP in real time. I always like to look at value area, I look at low volume nodes because those are always going to be rejection points. I'm always going to look at high volume nodes because those are always going to be like a magnet to the market. The market's going to want to come back up to test high volume like it's doing right now. Right? And it's got to get above that high volume node. If we can get above this high volume location, this is going to act as support and it'll most likely come back to try to test the middle of the auction. From a day trader's perspective, these can be great for scalping. And depending on how you look to trade, it can be really good if you're, looking at making decisions on risk management, right? Taking targets off, etc. And you always want to be paying attention to the volume, because the volume is going to tell you a story, right? Let's say we were trading, right? And we were trading off the open. We came down, we took that short off the VWAP, and we managed this down. And what's happening is you can see the market stopped here, right? Well, you can also see that it's picking up volume here. So this can tell you two things. It can tell you that if we can't get above this area, this may be where the market's going to continue down. If we get above this area, it's going to be where they're taking off the profits, and this will be where the market's going to reverse back up to test high volume. And this takes a little bit more of an advanced skill set to read the volume dynamically in real time. And we have instructors, and we also have classes that teach this. So when you're trading in our trading rooms, we'll be able to show you the volume happening in real time, right? The key thing here is identifying how do you want to trade this. The easiest strategy is always going to be the low volume node. The second easiest strategy is always going to be the VWAP, and then the point of control retest, okay? So what I encourage you to do is use this in real-time markets and study how the volume responds. I don't really encourage anybody to start trading real-time profiles right away until you get a feel for how the volume is reacting, how the market is responding, and what it's telling you. Once you get a handle on the volume, that is when you can start making a lot more actionable trading decisions for entries and for exits, okay? Make sure that you set the settings, you choose the settings that you choose to, and make sure you set the granularity based off of the bar size that you're looking to trade, okay? So if you have any other questions on real-time profiles, let us know. These are going to be something that you can use interchangeably, or you can use for trade management. And if you want to join our classrooms and watch real pro traders trade these in live markets, be sure to check us out. Take care, traders, and we'll see you on the charts.